might. All right. Okay, I can see everybody popping on.
I'm trying not to spill my tea.
Everyone. Yeah, look busy.
If I spill my tea, it's going to be very exciting.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. So we're going to give it a couple minutes, let everybody trickle on until most of you have arrived. Good evening. So those of you who are joining us outside of California, we have a little fireside chat motif going on here tonight. The lighting is a little scarce in California due to the smoke from the fire. So we're a little more dim than we usually are. So hi, everybody. So we'll go ahead and get started. If you join us late, we are going to have this available on demand on a replay. So for people who miss or jump in late, welcome, and we'll see you there. So my name is Casey Garrett. If you're meeting me for the first time, I'm the founder at Soulstice Mind and Body Studio. We're a healing arts studio in Northern California. And we put together a series, we're calling it our mental health wellness series, a series of live events. We've gathered some of our very favorite practitioners and comrades in the healing arts in the Bay Area and beyond to join us to give everybody some support, some tools, some resources and tips, and share our personal journey, what we're doing to kind of help us move through this really challenging time. Since the time we designed the series, it's only gotten more, how shall we say, challenging with the fires here. And as we get closer to the election, the next 60 days, the more we can resource ourselves inwardly, we benefit ourselves and everybody else around us. So our intention tonight is to share with you. I'm super excited to introduce you to Michael Shaldone. He is an addiction and recovery specialist based in the Sacramento area. He brings experience with individuals, groups. He's worked within the prison system. He has worked with drug and alcohol recovery. And as he'll speak to, addiction comes in many, many forms. So I think the thing, when I met Michael for the first time, I was really struck with the authenticity he brings. Just to meet him, you can feel in him how much he cares deeply about people and their innate capacity to heal, no matter where they're starting from. So I'm very grateful that you're here tonight with us on Thursday. We determined that it is Thursday.
Figured that out. Took a minute.
Losing track of times. And so one thing I wanted to mention before handing off to Michael, one thing that's been coming up in our community is with all of the real-time traumas that have been going on, it's just enough to kind of hold, ourselves day to day, but also just knowing that the depth and gravity of what's going on is also deeply triggering to so many right now of things that happened in the past, formerly in life, previous experiences. So if our reactions are, deep, it's enough to deal with the day-to-day, but also just have a lot of self-compassion for ourselves right now is so vitally important. And to cut yourself some slack right now. It's a really, really difficult time. So thank you for being here and being part of our community. And hi, Michael. Thank you for being here. Hi.
Thank you for the intro. So I figured this could go like as many directions as you want it to, because I could talk for hours and hours and hours on the topic. And I do. That's the funny part, is like, this is what I do, and I'm passionate about it. And all the tentacles of mental health and addiction. One of my first disclaimers is I don't think any one person has all the answers. And I'm certain there's people on the call, and just with the nature of working with yoga studios and yogis in general, we all have our gifts to bring to the table. So I love collaborative working with people and saying, you know something I don't know, I might have something I can share, but together as a community, look at the healing we can do as a group. So I appreciate you just having me on the call to share my experience. And hopefully through some of the questions and dialogue, we can continue and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, some of you have sent questions in ahead of time, and we were thinking we'll hold the questions till the end. And then also there's a little chat box. I don't know if it's over here, but if you click on your screen, there's a chat box. You can feel free to plug in questions at any time, and we'll respond to those at the end of the call.
Yeah, so I'm glad we're keeping it casual. Although I have 20 PowerPoints, I could just Oh, did that work? So I have a question, not a question, but looking at the general picture of recovery and mental health, I think it's important to keep this kind of framework. And it's 3 consecutive circles or conjoining circles, and it's called biopsychosocial. And I love the topic because bio refers to biology and the relevance of what our body needs to take care of itself for mental health and addiction. The psychology, psychology speaks to kind of our inner mechanisms on how they're working, our mind. Where has our conditioning been? Where are our thought patterns? And you can see how those are connected. And then the third one, biopsychosocial, our sociology. How's our community look? What's our culture? What's our family upbringing? So sociology is kind of the external impact on us. The psychology is our mindset, and the biology is kind of obvious. It's our body. And they all intersect, and they're all important. And sometimes we lose track of that. We get focused on one thing and ignore the other. But to understand how integrated all 3 of those things are, and know that everything is connected, even above that, we have epigenetics and some fun topics we can go into in that. And in fact, maybe I should right now. The epigenetics of everything is us controlling or attempting to look at our environment and how it impacts us. And so no wonder the converse right now is such a weird dynamic for so many people, because if you believe in epigenetics and you're like, everything impacts me, my sensory inputs, my intuition, my relationships, my food, my drink, it all impacts me. It can impact me positively, or it can impact me subconsciously and I don't even know it, and then we become a victim to circumstance. And so I'm proud of the fact that people are just taking time on the call to say, I'm willing to listen and grab some nuggets for my own self-care. So that's, I'll try to fit each one into each one of those topics as we go. And slow me down, because I'll start just rambling.
Take it away.
Keep going. If you wrote down an acronym, here's one of the more powerful things I'd say. The company I run, we have a tagline: surrender, heal, ascend. Surrender, heal, ascend. It's the modality for treatment of taking somebody in a difficult place and saying, step 1, surrender. A lot of ego detachment, a lot of saying, okay, I've got to analyze where I've been to stop this and surrender to that process of healing. And the healing is where I think we'll spend a lot of time right now, because it's something we can control. So the healing, I use an acronym called Take Your Meds, daily meds. And it's a play on words, because I don't advocate synthetic medications. It's not what I'm saying, take your meds every day. I'm not a doctor, I should tell you. If you have been prescribed medications, and I'm not telling you to stop by any means, but my meds is meditation, exercise, diet, sleep on a daily practice, being mindful of taking control of the things that we can. And I can drill into each of those, and you can ask me a question if you want to, Casey, but the first one's kind of maybe near and dear to everything that you guys already do. Meditation, exercise, diet, sleep. And I don't know if it's true or not, but for a lot of people it is, that they say, I'm not the type of person I can meditate. I just can't sit still. I can't stop my mind. And they block themselves from even the word. They're triggered by the word meditation as like, I can't do that. That's not me. That's not who I am. I can't figure it out. I've tried. I love, there's a book, Thich Nhat Hanh. Does everybody know this book? Hold on. I have stacks of books, so I have to look at this one. It's one of my favorites, and I tell people during the healing stage of the treatment process, I do this book, Thich Nhat Hanh, Pieces Every Step, and he puts meditation in a much more palatable way for people that really have that trigger of like, I can't do it. And it's this: if we're living too far in the future, a lot of words associated to that being in the future: worry, anxiety. The opposite spectrum, we're living in the past. A lot of times that's where we have some depression, guilt, shame, fear lies in the future. And my concept of meditation and the teaching is, what can we do to get ourselves out of the future and out of the past and come right here into the present moment? And that doesn't necessarily have to be that Zen moment sitting in lotus with your eyes closed. You can be in the present moment how you decide you want to be present. You probably have found something that you're doing in your day, whether it's hiking, cooking, gardening, playing with your children, where you, unbeknownst or beknownst to you, are nothing but present. You're not future tripping and you're not in the past. You're like, this has brought me to where I'm really focused on being here right now, the present moment. So I encourage in the daily practice of take your meds, what is in your what is in your practice every day that keeps you present, and make sure you do those things. And sometimes that's where you find you're the happiest. He's like, this is what brings me joy. This is what brings me happiness. Well, what is that? And put that in your day as a priority, not something that, yeah, I'll try to get to that if the kids will be quiet and if I get home from work. And in today's environment in COVID, a lot of us have been put in a place where we have time. We have more time than we want. We've been stuck in a house and we're like, I need to find that joy. So what is the meditative state that you can put yourself in? What are those habits that healthy habits, by the way? Can I do a quick break on what that is? Healthy habits. Oh. People say this. Well, what's a healthy habit? I'll tell you this. Always pay attention to your emotions. That the emotion that you get from activity is the signpost for whether that's healthy or not. So if you're doing something, you're like, well, I'm not sure if this is healthy or not. I'm like, well, if you're drinking Jack Daniels, that's, what's the emotion coming out of that? Probably not healthy. But if you're cooking stew or preparing your morning tea, we can all agree to find some peace and tranquility in those things. So that's the meditation. Exercise, meditation, exercise. You can almost pick your poison there too. But obviously I'm going to encourage a daily yoga practice. And it could be yin or yang. It could be a vinyasa flow, but whatever is going to resonate with you that day. But get the body primed. You get to pick. The exercise component of meds could be going outside for a hike. It could be spending time with your kids, going for a walk, playing basketball, walking the dog, going to, you guys live in a beautiful area over there. I don't know how the fires are. I hope your area is still beautiful. In fact, I went to a beach over there the other day. Oh, what was it called?
Slightly different hue than normal, but
I was in Dillon Beach. I went to Dillon Beach the other day. Beautiful area. So that's your exercise component. Meditation, exercise, diet. It's a little bit of a misnomer because I don't preach diet at all, other than the D was needed in the word meds. And really, I take the D out. I'd call it nutrition. What is your nutritional program? This one I could talk for about 2 or 3 hours on, and I won't, I promise. But I will tell you this. What we eat significantly impacts our mental health. It would be amiss, and anybody knows this that has used any chemical to make themselves feel better. If it's coffee, if I drink my coffee, it affects my mentality. If I drink alcohol, it can. Certain drugs of choice can. The same is true for fruits, vegetables, leafy greens on the healthy side. The building blocks for if I keep it simple, dopamine and serotonin, our sense of well-being and our happiness, those two hormones and neurotransmitters, the building blocks for those are your nutrition. You can't go to the grocery store and look for a label that says, I need to really bump up my serotonin today. You have to eat the ingredients to create with the amino acids to create that. If I had a screen up, I would tell you this: focus on your magnesium. Magnesium is the catalyst. Magnesium by itself is responsible for about 300 different metabolic functions in your body. It is the catalyst to have tyrosine and tryptophan build dopamine and serotonin. If you could have all the intentions in the world, you could meditate for hours, but if you don't have the bricks to build the wall you want to build, you're not building the wall. And that's a metaphor for your serotonin. If you want serotonin and dopamine and the sense of well-being, you need those building blocks. Those building blocks, I can email anybody, I can send it through you, Casey, that has a list of top 10 foods to build those levels of magnesium and B9 and folate. And they're pretty, oh, you want to see something funny? So this is anybody that's been to my seminar knows this, and they don't call me the pumpkin seed man, but they should. Check this out. I'm not doing English correctly, but these are pumpkin seeds, Brazil nuts, and dark chocolate. And this snack, I keep one of these in my car and I keep one of these on my desk, and I snack throughout the day. If you did that, you would get about 80% of the magnesium you need for your healthy diet. So you don't have to, if you remember the foods to eat, you don't have to go through measurements of like I do. I'm a crazy person. But yeah, pumpkin seeds, your favorite nut, dark chocolate, not your Hershey's, but dark chocolate, cacao, throw a banana in there. Again, I can email you so this can be distributed. But those things right there are going to get your magnesium levels up to the point where you can build the serotonin and dopamine that you want and need. That's your sense of well-being. Almost certainly when we get into a funk, we can sometimes, not all the time, attribute that to not eating, overeating, gorging on sugars. What's that?
Dehydration too.
Dehydration, absolutely. I'm a big proponent of tea. You'll be proud of me. I cut coffee 3 weeks ago. It was one of my last frontiers of things to cut out of my life. And I got rid of the coffee, and my adrenal glands feel so much happier. And I'm stretching better. You'd be seeing you guys would all be proud of my yin yoga. Looking my certain positions. I'm doing much better. And then the last one, meds, the sleep. Proper rest and sleep. So daily meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep in today's environment are things we can control to boost our mood, boost our mental health.
Sleep is coming up a lot for people right now, and magnesium is a wonderful tie because magnesium is great to take at the end of the night in combination with calcium. It's very relaxing to the musculature and also promoting sleep. As tempting as it is to read the news of the day at the end of the night, we also advocate, the last couple hours, take your magnesium, take your calcium, make sure you're hydrated, and minimize the stimulus, You need to read a book rather than the news of the day.
This is such a fun topic for me to say this part with regard to sleep. Cortisol, stress hormone, right? Cortisol is released in our body under times of stress, and it's a biological need to fight or flight. So it's there for a reason. Cortisol levels would spike if you needed to run fast or fight an opponent, and as biology of a human, it's been there in that structure to do just that. The issue with cortisol is it causes so much ill health if it's persistent throughout your body. Blood thickness, high cholesterol, blood pressure, abdominal fat, so many different reasons not to want your system flooded with cortisol. The reason I'm going to attach to what you said is biologically, there may have been fear of a boogeyman around the corner or a saber-toothed tiger a long time ago, but guess what? It's not real, just real fear. It's also the perception of fear. So if we're watching the media, there's plenty to be afraid of. 24 hours a day, we can be alerted to what's next bad. And it's not, this is pre-COVID days. We're always going to be scared of something, whether it's terrorism, it's just a media outlet. And it's not just the media. If you go to, it's stress in general. So it could be fear and stress. If you go to work every day and your boss is on you and you're like, this workplace really stresses me out. And then you come home and perhaps your relationships are strained a little bit and that stresses you out. Your cortisol levels are going through the roof. Guess when cortisol gets minimized is when you sleep. So it's this weird cycle of, oh, I can't sleep, I'm stressed. And then you don't sleep, so your cortisol levels don't go down, so you remain stressed. You gain weight, blood pressure, and all the source of disease. Stress is one of the biggest killers there is. So getting good sleep, I have a ton of recommendations. I don't know that we'll go into all of them right now, but pay attention.
That was actually one of the questions, so feel free.
Was it?
That was actually one of the questions that came in was, because so many people are having sleep issues, what were the tips, be it nutrition, lifestyle?
Oh yeah, let's do it. I would say this, pay attention to all 5 senses and look to calm the nervous system for all 5. Here's examples. Biologically, our pineal gland, excuse me, I almost said the wrong one, our pineal gland, I don't even know how to say it, pineal, I believe, or pineal, I keep slipping. It produces our serotonin, and then at night, when light goes down, the lowering of light, the sun, causes our same gland to produce melatonin and have us sleep. So sight is one of the 5 senses. Pay attention to what you're letting in your eyes in the evening. To signal your brain with more light and stimulus is counterproductive to producing the melatonin you need to sleep. You should be craving darkness. Think about TVs being on. Think about falling asleep with the TV on or the lights on. You want to calm that sense of and produce the melatonin, calm the light. Same gland produces it when it feels cooler. So you don't want to heat yourself up in the evening. As soon as you would get out of the shower and your skin hits the coolness of your sheets or the air, it's a signal to melatonin, calm that sensor down. Thinking about sound. Everybody's a little bit different. Some people want no noise, but what about, I love Native American flutes. It helps me calm. So I'm listening to that. Maybe it's the sound of rain. Maybe it's the sound of the oceans, but pay attention to what you're listening to. You don't want to have your headphones in listening to what you usually work out to. It's counterproductive to that sense. Smell. I know you guys have a fabulous shop, but pay attention to the oils. I love lavender. There's several different aromatherapies that will calm that sense down. And then my absolute favorite, I'm not drinking it now, but tea. Valerian root is an amazing tool. It doesn't taste great. I blend it with some other things and we market it to help people with sleep. We call it lights out. But valerian root will help you naturally produce melatonin and boost that up. And sleep longer and sleep deeper throughout the night for various reasons, but pay attention to your teas. Some people like a lighter weight. You can drink lavender, you can drink chamomile, you can drink rose, obviously not caffeine though. So also on the palate, outside of the tea itself, watch eating heavy foods and lots of oils and fats at night as well. It will carry into your sleep. So that may answer, if someone has a tangent to the sleep question, let me know, but pay attention to all 5 senses and do it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, you and I have talked a lot in the past about rituals, and
Yes.
more your rituals have a compound effect, so that you will come to, the more you do it, the more you'll come to associate that tea with calming your nervous system, or a sound, or a CD. So once you make it a habit, once you make it a ritual, you will always have that to take throughout your day. I know we've had our bodywork clients, once they get used to a certain smell, like we always diffuse ylang ylang is the favorite in the studio.
Outstanding.
So after people come in over time, they smell that smell, and they can just by the sense, the imprint of the smell, the ritual of that smell can help them calm in the same way that they know they're in a relaxing, safe environment.
Right.
So kind of creating that container for yourself,
Yep.
which, yeah, if you're ready for the next question,
Sure.
one of the variations on the same theme was there's so much right now that is out of our control.
Mhm.
Every day there's something new. So how do we create, what are some of the ways and rituals we can create that safe container when there is so much out of our control, and so many people are living, have so much less alone time in some ways, people that are homeschooling their kids, they have a spouse that they're spending a lot more time with. So how do we create that safe container and those rituals with the time?
I'll try to answer it on two levels. One can be, I don't know the right even word for it, maybe pragmatic, but then I'm going to hit the other one first, because I think it's I look for the root of the answer, because there's some pragmatic things like, in a relationship, asking for space, creating a time management. And I don't want to say too much on just time management and such, because I take a different approach to it in most of my treatment, and that this is all spiritual warfare. So this is about authentic power versus power of the external. There's a great teaching on that. And power of the external is when we allow, it's not the positive part, it's the negative part. The power of the external is when we allow external things to determine our internal mechanisms. In a big picture, that could be, I'm really focused on the money or the titles, or other people. And that's my source of happiness or controlling my emotions. Versus authentic power, the opposite of power of external. Authentic power is the recognition that everything's going to come from within. So I don't mean to just throw it on the table as an out here, because I'm going to answer it in a more detailed way. But the end of the day is we have to find the internal mechanism, the authentic power, and take that back and recognize that nothing outside of us is going to solve that. It's all inside. So some of those struggles I would take one-on-one. If someone says, well, I need to make sure I'm not a full-time mom and then a full-time wife, and then I just don't have any time for myself. I almost can't answer how to do that on an individual to individual basis, other than to say, focus on your self-care as a priority, a level of communication for that. When someone says all these things are causing me pain, and that's somewhat of how I heard the question, is how do I get focused when all of this is going on? That's kind of how I answered it. All those things going on is external impacting us. To come into a mindfulness practice, whether it's yoga or taking your meds, and saying, I'm going to claim back my power. I'm going to be responsible for my own energy. I wish I had a slide to show you that, but when I can maintain and I raise my vibrational energy to certain emotions that will vibrate higher, I could do about a 5-minute talk on this, maybe if we have time. That's the place to be. So transitioning from fear-based low vibrational energies to gratitude, love, joy, contentment, higher vibrational frequencies, you'll start to notice that all the things that I'll just say me, I used to blame go away. Mm-hmm. I'm now taking back the power. To blame politics or to blame a corporation or to blame the state is not claiming my power. That keeps me in a fear-based, potentially anger, shame, guilt, low vibrational energy. When I say I'm going to shift my energy up, and there's ways and methods to do that, I start to find out those things don't impact me as much as I thought. I don't know if that answered the question. Maybe they can send another one, and I can be more direct. I don't know if I understood 100%.
No, it does. And then another question that came in was, for people, I know you just shared some of the report statistics, and I've read some too of the epidemic, people who are struggling with depression and sobriety before COVID. It just continues to increase. So people who do, even if you're okay, you're taking care of yourself as best you can, and taking your meds, we all have people in our lives that are struggling right now. So that was another question. How can we best support people who are struggling right now? Kind of what are some of the warning signs of people who were maybe, just had tendency to depression before, but now you're concerned and you don't have eyes on them as closely as you may have before. So how do you
Yep.
recognize it was a question, and how do you best support someone when you see the warning signs?
I think you nailed one of the topics, and I'll just reinforce it. Even on an airplane, they say make sure you put your oxygen mask on first before you help put your child's on, right? And that's a child-parent relationship, but it's true in life. Make sure we're wearing the oxygen mask. And then once we're wearing the oxygen mask, you also find it gives permission to other people to wear the oxygen mask too. People love to commune over tragedy. I hate to say it, but what's this phrase? Misery loves company. So
Trauma
anyway,
bonding.
what?
Trauma bonding is the
Right.
term.
So one way to help someone else is to be the change. You be the change. So instead of meeting them there, meet them at the higher vibration. Say, I'm coming in here with love, and I'm coming in here with gratitude, and I'm coming with your joy. So to support them through evidence of you supporting yourself is a step. Specific to depression, and I do work in the addiction field, and the relapse rates are off the charts. Relationships are suffering. I'm going to speak to depression for a second, especially if someone asked it is this is the person. My definition, one way to look at depression, I could say is, here's two different things. This is the way things should be, and this is the way things are. And when those don't match, it's a source of depression. An example, this is the way things should be. And I'll speak for myself. I'm 50 years old. I should weigh 185 pounds. I should still be able to bench press. I should run a marathon, and my knees should not hurt in the morning. And the way things are is I can't get out of bed, and it hurts every step after 20 minutes. The way things are, they don't match, and that could be a depression. It's called midlife crisis to a lot of people when they recognize you're like, oh my gosh, I'm getting older. Same thing with finances. It's like, I should be a retired multimillionaire, yet I've got 5 bills over here I can't even afford to pay, or my income's suffering. I'm giving those as examples. So depression, the children these days with no school, the way things are, and I work with a lot of teenagers and high schoolers, the way things are is I should be going to homecoming right now. I should be going to the football games every Saturday night. I should be with my friends. I should be eating lunch where I want to. That's the way things ought to be. And what's the way things are? Oh my gosh. Shelter in place, social distance, and for our own safety, we're forced to have this unreconciled two things, and there's your source of depression. So a way to reconcile that is, I love just a simple quote, this too shall pass. It's a way to look at these and say, how do I reconcile these things? Either the perception of the way things are, or an adjustment to the way things ought to be. And to become comfortable and just say, you know what, this is the way things are right now. And I'm going to remain present. I'm not going to be in the future. This is relatable to the other discussion. I'm not going to be in the future, and I'm not going to worry there. That's where my anxiety and my fears are. I'm going to come back to present moment by taking my meds every day. And if you're really saying, how do I support somebody else? There's potentiality that you share your daily meds with them. Potentially the mindfulness, the community that you've built there. Even though it's through technology, there's a community to be had there. I can get online and share community and my mindfulness with other people. The phone, if I'm really literal, it could be the phone calls. My mom lives 2 miles away, but with COVID going on, I'm very cautious. She's high risk. She's 73 with some medical issues. I have to be very mindful of hurting her, but also her mental health. She's been with nobody. So I can call her every day. I can call her. I can share pictures. I can email her. I don't even know if she's on this call or not. But there's ways, us putting our face mask on so that we're healthy enough to do this, and then reach out. And that reach out could be a voice. It could be, depending on who you are in the relationship with that person, it could be a walk. It could be taking the dog over. It could be dropping off meals. But please keep the social connectivity as much as you can while staying healthy. I hope that helped.
Yeah, very much. So modeling self-care and presence and connection.
Yep.
Is what I heard.
And it's a deeper topic too, but that low vibrational energy, fear, I'm really trying to encourage people not to meet there, because our immune systems are attached to those low vibrational frequencies of fear and anger, and there's so many. And to rise up, and you say, well, how do you get out of fear in these times?
Exactly.
You could write a gratitude journal, which is a part of a great habit before you go to bed, to calm the mind that won't go. There's gratitude journals. There's self-love. There is community. There is laughter. And it's a mindset, and it's shifting. Like, I'm not going to meet in fear. I'm going to meet in optimism and opportunity. Just that vibrational energetic switch will connect you to so many other opportunities to see things more healthy. It's all that, and that's all mental health. It's all connected, whether it's depression or anxiety or the substance abuse. Because the moment we say, I can't control this, we're going to go look for something that will help us maintain that. And sadly enough, it's been alcohol, drugs, anger, so many other maladaptive approaches to mental health. What else? Keep talking. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, absolutely. We come from, because of our background at the studio, our roots are in the body, right? So a lot of times I think people are so overwhelmed with the day-to-day right now, they're not giving themselves, or some cases they just simply don't have the reflective time to connect. This is why I'm feeling frustrated. This is why I'm feeling unmotivated. So really, to get people in their body through exercise, through dance, through movement, can help you not only shift your energy to a higher vibration, but also get in touch with what you're feeling and why you're feeling it.
I don't want to say it's easier said than done, because I think it's a choice to do the practice. So an example of my morning practice is, it's not elaborate, but it's intentional. It's very intentional. My tea and my morning meditation and stretching routine, besides playing the music, it's almost the opposite of the five senses being brought to calm. I'm in the morning, I'm trying to get my five senses perked up to move and enjoy my day. Again, all five senses engaged, and pay attention to each, even if you have to write it down. And I do. I have a spreadsheet. I'm a crazy person. I have a spreadsheet, and here's the morning practice that I would follow, and I follow it, and I give it to people with treatment. I'm like, check the box. I want to see the meds being done. How's the morning meditation? What is going into your mind with the form of information? And then we've got to move the body. We are not just addicted to substances outside of us. I think you know of Dr. Joe and some of his teachings, Dispenza. We're not just addicted to the chemical in this glass. We're also addicted to the chemicals we create in our body. This is a really interesting topic. I don't mean to use plain words, but it can help. If you've heard of the term victim. And when we have certain victims or victim mentalities or fear generating, we release chemicals out of our body out of design. Well, if we think we haven't become addicted to those chemicals, we're kind of fooling ourselves. We can be addicted to adrenaline, addicted to the cortisol. The very thing we say, I don't want to feel this anymore, we actually can be, just like a substance abuser, we're addicted to that effect on us. So we say, I'm really, and this is also related, I'm really just going to cut these people out of my life. I'm going to quit that job. And we look at the external things, and it's almost like getting rid of our drug of choice. I'm going to eliminate that stress. Well, now your body's saying, well, hey, wait a minute. You used to give me my cortisol every day, and now you're not. We become addicted to the same emotions, which is why this is a long way to get to this answer. What are the daily practices in substitute for the risks we may have put ourselves in? So if we become addicted to these potentially negative feelings, the emotions and the feelings, and we're like, I'm addicted to this, I want to shift it through intention, but then also the daily practices. The yoga is designed to do this. This is not new medicine. This is thousands of years old. The yoga is designed to create the body in all three of those dynamics.
And we just had a great question come in terms of addiction, asked to speak to the addiction to technology right now.
Yes.
Especially while we're looking for she said the quick hits of dopamine to get us through the odd times.
Okay. Here's my litmus test. If you've heard that phrase, a litmus test for am I addicted? And this is something I would encourage you to use with your teens if needed, or even yourself. It's an A, B, C. Am I an addict to this substance or behavior? A, is this substance or behavior giving me short-term relief or pleasure? Easy question. Is this substance or behavior giving me short-term relief or pleasure? B, but it has long-term negative consequences. And C, I can't control it or stop it. So the hardcore drugs are kind of easy. Heroin, is it giving you short-term relief? Yeah, it's a painkiller. B, long-term negative consequences. On every front, it'll give you negative consequences. Mental health, physical health, relationships, financial, income, housing, it'll obliterate them. And C, it's one of the most difficult to stop. And I love the vulnerability to tell you this. I had the same questions I had to ask myself with coffee, which seemed mundane for my whole life until recently when I said, okay, is it giving me short-term relief or pleasure? Yes, a lot. I love it. I still say that. I shouldn't. And I'm like, yes, coffee gives me so much. And for most of my life, the long-term consequence, it wasn't there until I started thinking I may be suffering from adrenal fatigue and I'm trying to do this new practice and I'm not having the flexibility I want. I'm like, the coffee is dehydrating and it's crashing my adrenals. This is starting to have a long-term consequence I don't like, and I'm going to look to control it and stop it. And I had a difficult time, and then I overcame. That's an addiction. So to answer the question that came up, here we go. Technology, video games, your own iPhone. Are you getting short-term relief or pleasure from that? And she mentioned dopamine, or he or she mentioned dopamine. You're like, yeah, I can acknowledge that. And if it's your child and you're like, you're addicted to video games, well, maybe. It could be your husband, it could be your wife, it could be anybody. I don't mean to be, I'm gender neutral. But it's probably giving some people, a Facebook like can give you a dopamine hit. So maybe you're like, yeah, I'm getting short-term relief or pleasure. Well, the B is kind of a difficult one sometimes in this front. Are there long-term negative consequences? And anybody can say, no, I'm fine with Facebook. I'm not on my phone that much. It's when your relationship to your spouse or your children start to suffer that you're like, maybe I'm starting to have a long-term negative consequence. And here's the letter C. Can I control it or stop? Try to put the phone down for a day. Try to unplug. And if you're like, I can't, you may have A, B, and C met. If your child comes home or doesn't come out of their room, and there's a lot of teens I work with where like, your video game thing's off the chain right now. You're getting a lot of pleasure from it. The long-term consequences, you don't come out, your nutrition stuff is horrible. You're gaining weight, you're sad, you're depressed. We can see this. And I'm going to take away the video game and see the rage come out. Then okay, I have this addiction problem. And then that's the beginning of the awareness. Even if people on the call are familiar with the 12-step program, the first 1, 2, and 3 steps are admitting you're powerless. So if you've met these steps, and if the person was asking the question is saying, I think I'm the one with this technology problem, you'd have to come to that conclusion yourself. There's no blood test to say you're an addict. You can have a blood test to say I'm diabetic, I have heart disease, I have cancer. It's measurable. Addiction doesn't have a blood test. We have to self-diagnose. I think I have an issue. Now, when you do, that's a whole nother set of treatment. What do I do about that? And there's obviously the plans: surrender, healing, and the ascension through the process itself. I can get more detail, but I wonder if that
Mm-hmm.
helped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great
Yeah.
question. Thank you. Thank you. Another question was, it's one thing to look at to your teacher, to your guide, to your instructor, and see and listen to them. But I think where we're moving toward, and what we hope to help people achieve at the studio is locating their own power and their own innate healing potential. So, in as much as you would love, I'd love you to share part of your personal story of how did you get from here to there.
Oh my God. I was done with that. Just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, and as much as you're comfortable, because I think our ability to be vulnerable and share our own stories really helps people connect to their own power and their own ability to heal. So not just looking to someone outside of themselves, as we have traditionally done, be it a guru, a teacher, an instructor, a guidebook. It's really, believing in yourself and your own power. And maybe your teacher is a catalyst for that. But learning to look inside. So
it's probably the biggest life lesson I've had in my life. Is that funny? My biggest life lesson in my life is realizing everything I needed is inside of me, not external. That's why I speak so much about trying to do that. And almost everything I speak about is through my own experience. I went to rehab in 2003. I know surrender intimately, as I was forced into it. I'm one of those, and I don't say this with an ego, I say it almost as a negative. I'm one of those smart people. I had 3 college degrees. I was a full-on egomaniac. I really bought into this system of what success is I've got 3 degrees. I have a corporate title. I drive a nice car. I have a pretty wife. I am making a lot of money. And that means I'm doing great, according to an old model of thinking of mine. No one has to adopt this, but my own model was that external source of power. If I have money, title, and I look good and all these things, then I must be doing good. And I got my butt handed to me in the form of alcoholism. And my viewpoint of it is that was the spirit's way. That's the universe just slapping me and saying, this is a spiritual wake-up call. That's not what it's about. And I'm going to hand you a problem that you can't solve with all the degrees and all the money in the world, which is what I thought I could do with any problem, because I had evidence that I could. You give me a problem, I fix it. You give me a challenge, I get the promotion. You give me that, I'm gonna do well. We're gonna play baseball, I'm gonna win. I mean, that was my egocentric mind. And I truly think the addiction I have was a blessing to a spiritual life I would have never had if I didn't have this opportunity to have to surrender. And that source of surrender and say, I'm powerless. Our society doesn't like those words, by the way. You can't go around saying I'm powerless, because you'll be perceived as, oh, what are you, weak? Oh, well, you're less than, or you're no good. And it's like not true at all. It's not even remotely true. Power is in surrendering. And that surrendering and that limitless power we have is the recognition that what we need is inside of us. So my story since 2003, when I submitted to being insane and like, I can't do this on my own, allowed me to start the process of a lot of what I know today, whether it's my spiritual practice of yoga, my nutrition. I had to battle these fronts personally and experiment with all of them to come to believe that I could heal myself. And it's not only just me healing myself, it was the community of people and the society and the acknowledgement that my dharma is to serve people in this area, knowing that once they see it, they can serve somebody else. And it's a fabulous thing to know you're teaching from someplace you know with your heart, not your head. And it's, yeah. So vulnerability, you ask me anything. I'm proud of the fact that I've been there and worked through it. It's why I'm passionate. I could have been an engineer. I could have been in Italy right now, making a lot of money, or I could be in prison. I could have been in prison too. So there's always a price to pay.
It's good to have options.
There's a price to pay for not fixing your craft. I'm trying to watch my words. I worked in a prison for a long time, and I have to be mindful of some of my words.
You can talk to this audience.
I don't know.
You'd be surprised.
Yes.
Awesome. Yeah, we have more comments than questions coming through now. I wonder if you could speak to, what we're going through collectively right now, because in a lot of ways, our society is a mirror of what's going on, and for so many individuals right now, where we're kind of facing our surrender moment.
Yep.
As a country, as a society, and everybody is at such a different place, right? Some people are angry about that. Some people are resisting that with everything they can. Some people are just left kind of hopeless and grieving the situation. So I just wonder if you have any thoughts about how we can assist, healing as a community, as a greater collective.
I'll speak to it like this too, and it refers back to the spiritual playground, spiritual battlefield, however you want to perceive this nature of consciousness. I think number one is to recognize everything is connected. And once we recognize everything is connected and everything is this universal consciousness, and I'm a piece of it and it's a piece of me, I think it adds validity to I'm the one that needs to heal. So it's gonna pull energy back from how do I fix the world to be the evidence needed and raise your vibration. And when you do that in a community, it's more powerful. So you start with you, and then concentric circles, you work through this karma out to the larger spirit. And I might, let's see. It's how I view addiction as well. And since this is somewhat of the topic also, whether it's mental health issues people really have, valid mental health concerns, it's that the translation of viewing those as a blessing. And here's my valid belief from a personal level of light and dark, good and bad, dark and evil, God and the devil. I mean, however you want to phrase these two polarities. Is I do believe that the more potential light, the more potential dark. I think they match each other. So a person with an addiction has the potential for equal amount of light. A person without an addiction and just no problems, I don't mean to insult anybody, but maybe it's just that there's a dimmer light. I believe the vibrational energies match. So I almost encourage people, if you are really struggling with mental health and addiction, high five yourself, forgive your palate. You have that much rebound energy in the light form as the dark. So the potentiality to view it and say that and say, God must love me. The spirit must love me because look at the problems they handled me. They must believe my light is so powerful that there's a force matching me. So this universal, I love the topic because it is a battleground. The entire consciousness right now is getting a wake-up call, and the dark is coming out, but so is the light. If you believe my theory, you're like, there's so much dark. What's that tell you? If you've believed what I've said so far, and it is my own personal model, if you believe there's so much dark in the world, guess what? It can only be through almost metaphysical truth and theory equal. So yay, we've got an amazing opportunity to grow our tribe because the light is as evidently powerful as what we can perceive as so dark. If it's so dark, there's a potential for so much light. And That's what's happening. My, again, personal opinion, that's what's happening in the world right now. And so we can't shelter. I'm not saying don't shelter in place. I'm using the phraseology. We can't shelter our tribe in place with the energy we can bring to the forefront of this spiritual battle. I'm so proud of you for doing what you're doing right now in this moment, because this is what's going to happen. There's so much opportunity coming out of this environment that it's not all that dark. It's a matter of choice, somewhat.
Beautiful. I love that. Thank you. It's reassuring and hopeful. Thank you. We have time. If anybody wants to chime in, we have some time for a couple more questions. So feel free to tap in a question. Another question that had come in prior to tonight was children. You know, this generation of kids is going through something that we couldn't even fathom having gone through. So with the kids you're working with, for us who have children or who, you know, teachers, parents, do you have any advice to speak to the unique moment that our kids?
Yeah, I have a lot I can't say, but a quote came to my front of my head about this, and it is a little bit addiction related. Can you see me okay? The sun's going down and I feel like I'm getting
I know.
I apologize. I might move in a second, but one of my favorite authors on the topic, world-renowned Gabor Mate. He says, addiction's not the problem. Addiction is an attempt to solve a problem. So I reflect back to anybody I work with an addiction issue, is the addiction is not the problem. The addiction is an attempt to solve a problem. And many times, I'll get to the point, but many times the problem our addiction is attempting to solve originated in youth. Not, it's the pre-trauma person we're trying to get back to. I'll give you a great definition of recovery in a second, but who we were pre-trauma is that child. And so to reflect on that question and say, I'm raising them. Okay, this is very crucial life skill. And I think that's what COVID potentially has done as well. It's taken a parent, including myself, out of a job that maybe was our priority and said, hey, your priority is that child. And now we're back in the household with a child, and it's changed. So there may be a lack of comfort there. But the fact of the matter is, we've been put face to face with our child and said, now you raise them. They're not going to school. They're in your house and they're in your care. And someday, if Mike Shaldone meets them and asks them, your addiction is not your problem. The addiction is the attempt to solve a problem from your childhood. We're with our children right now with that issue. So we have a very high responsibility to the children. And I won't give a direct answer other than to say everything we've talked about so far is relevant for the child as it is for us. Where is the meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep? Where is their social connections? And you're like, well, they can't go to school and they can't play sports. Well, then their social connection is you. Their social connection is their sister or brother. Social connection is who? Hopefully it's not a video game, because the access to other people through social media that our children have now, Instagram, Snapchat, which I don't even understand, but the kids do. They're getting feedback from somebody, and now we're with our children. And I don't mean to put it out there as to create more stress for you, but to, again, perception again. It's not more stress to have your son or daughter homeschooling. It's an opportunity to connect with them. And that's a very powerful situation to be in. It's not stress for you. It's your perception of, this is my opportunity to bond and connect with my child. Like, I've never had this opportunity. In fact, if you had told the school district, my kid's not coming to school, I want to raise them instead, you have to go through hoops to do that. And here we are with the opportunity to exactly do that. If you have a child with a direct issue, they're acting depressed, they're acting manic, they're getting online and buying THC cartridges and they're vaping because they're not dealing with their emotions very well. Okay, back to meds. Where's their mindfulness activity? And mindfulness, we talk about meditation as that Zen moment. For what's that present moment for a child? It could be anything. It could be art. It could be basketball. It could be playing with trucks or cars. I'm picturing kids from 5 years old to, my son who's 19 and lifts weights here in the house. Where's their exercise? Where's their diet and nutrition? And how are they sleeping at night? Unfortunately, technology allows all of us, including our children, to be stimulated 24 hours a day. They can grab their phone, and they do. I've got a lot of teenagers I work with that at 2 or 3 in the morning, they're still online. They're still on Snapchat. They're not shutting their electrical system in their body down to calm. So I don't know if I'm long-winded on that answer or not, but again, perception is the being with our children is not a stressor. It's an opportunity to teach them what we do as a practice. We've got our gas mask on, air mask, oxygen mask. We've got our oxygen. I don't know what it's called now. We've got our oxygen mask on, and through demonstration, we're teaching them, here's my mindfulness practice, here's my exercise, here's my nutrition, and let's calm. Let's be together as a family. I'll turn this way. Maybe this helps.
Yes.
Right. I'm back. Right. Maybe. What else popped in, if anything?
As far as daily rituals, they're asking, more personally, like, what are your go-tos for raising your vibe?
Okay, nutrition-wise, I don't, no judgment, but I'm vegan. I have a nutritional practice to keep everything I ingest high vibe. And that's my personal opinion and the way I go about it. I perceive everything as energy. So the music I listen to, the food I eat, the air I breathe, as much as possible with no smoke or filters. But here's an example. Yesterday I had about 3 or 4 hours of killing. I drove to Tahoe. I drove to the mountains, I should say. I didn't go to Lake Tahoe for fun. I went to the mountains to go breathe fresh air, ground myself. I skipped that whole topic, but grounding is significant. My bare feet on something not synthetically made, such as concrete or carpet or linoleum. I want my feet on the grass. I want my feet in the dirt and the sand. I can do the same thing with my hands in gardening. I love gardening. I'm not good at it, but it's a practice. I go out there and I will dig and plant and dig and plant and weed. And that's a grounding practice. Tactilely, I'm getting my hands and discharging negative energy into the earth. Going to Tahoe, cooking. I'm very close to the food I eat. So the other day I made a stew. It's a few different things at once. One, I'm controlling my nutrition. And secondly, it's a mindfulness practice. I'm going to take about an hour and connect energetically with my food as a process. That's connected. If the question is still my daily practices, I do lots of burpees. I worked in a prison. I do lots of burpees. I like burpees. If it's funny, this is awesome. And I taught the guys in the prison this. If they did a burpee, I said, I'm going to do a sun salutation. You tell me the difference. And there isn't. There isn't a difference. It's so similar. They're like, what do you do, yoga? I'm like, yeah, I do yoga. And I go, I'm going to show you a sun salutation. And they're like, wow, that looks just like a burpee. I'm like, yeah, it is. They go, call it what you want. Just do it, right? Get your heart rate up, get the movement, get the breath connected to your physical movements in all the ways that you teach. A grounding practice of yin yoga is my favorite, actually. So yes, I do burpees in a vinyasa flow here to myself at home by myself, but the yin practice to make sure I'm connecting to breath with tea, with, again, my senses, with my sage is right there with my Palo Santo, or maybe I've got a citrus blend. I love the citrus blend here. When I sit at my desk and I'm peaking my system up. Certain teas, pu'er is a black fully fermented tea, green tea, to get myself going in the morning. So all 5 senses, and meds, meditation, exercise, diet, and sleep.
Any books that you recommend or authors? You mentioned, yeah.
Hold on. Here's the Here's the three that when I walk someone through surrender, heal, ascend. Surrender, heal, ascend. Normally when I'm going through the surrender component, I'm using 4 agreements.
Beautiful.
So I say, let's look at the 4 agreements, which really the core of the 4 agreements is challenging our belief systems. The fact in the 4 agreements that through getting raised by parents and society, we've built a book of law and become domesticated. And that book of law is our internal guidance system. And many times we didn't write it. Someone else wrote it, but we adopted it. And now we've been raised to believe things that 40 years later, maybe we've never challenged. So the surrendering process of like, maybe I ought to look at what my belief systems are. Great book. The healing part, you've already seen this, but getting into daily practices, Thich Nhat Hanh, Pieces Every Step is the second book I recommend, and I do a book study with that. The Ascension, I've got a couple favorites. I love Dr. Joe's new book, Becoming Supernatural. Gary Suzak, I always say his name wrong. The Seed of the Soul.
Zukov.
Suzak Zukov. So outstanding. All Dr. Dyer books. I love Dr. Dyer, Deepak, Dr. Joe. This one is an easier read. It's not super hard for a lot of my people, but Untethered Soul is kind of an ascension book. But the ascension process in Surrender, Heal, Ascend is all about transitioning the discussion of addiction and mental health. We're beyond that. And we're wanting to really connect back to source. Other authors, Brene Brown. So Brene Brown's amazing at vulnerability and surrender and authenticity and shame, guilt and shame. So if there's guilt and shame, such a great author for her. I could go on and on. So I'm drawing a blank. One of my favorite books, Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, is outstanding, pretty deep, but it talks about having purpose in your life and transcending pain and the reevaluation of what pain even is. Just a quick example on that. If not all pain is bad. If you break your arm or break a bone, you're going to perceive that pain as bad. And it does need to be perceived that way and fixed. But if you worked out with weights or yoga and you did squats or you held chair pose for 20 minutes, the next day you're going to have a little bit of pain, but we're going to perceive that as growth. Because if I did a hard workout, I expect to be a little bit sore. My perception of pain is growth, not suffering. And that's that book, Man's Search for Meaning with Viktor Frankl. It's outstanding. Yeah. Was there I'll keep. You have to stop.
Very relevant to right now, I think, is reconceptualizing our fear or pain we're experiencing right now. It's growth, not suffering. Right.
It's everything. In my business, I see it. So this common, I hate to say common knowledge because I'm not buying into it, but I'm going to say it as if I was, that everything's bad right now. Everything's going horribly. That's a perception of a broken bone pain. It can drag us into a low vibrational energy, which if this is spiritual warfare, which I perceive it is exactly what the dark wants from us. The darkness wants us to feed off the fear, and they want us to buy into the tragedy. So we consciously are lowering our energetic vibration. Yet the exact opposites is what's needed: optimism, love, joy, peace. In a time where you say that pain is a broken bone, and my argument is no, that pain, this pain happening right now, all of it is growth. And now we shift that to a higher vibrational frequency. It really matters. It's our own mental health at stake. It's our own sanity at stake to believe that or not.
Thank you. Oh, all right, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much for being with us in our community.
If you start to have more questions, I can email you some of the sources of what I was talking about. I didn't really put them together. I had them to show on the screen, and I can't share my screen. I apologize for that.
PowerPoint, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah,
I
no,
can
I
send
think,
you any information.
yep. And we will have this on demand replay. And with that, I'll put your contact information on there.
Oh, outstanding. Yes. Whether it's social media or my cell phone, you've got it. I really don't mind anybody reaching out for help.
Fantastic. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
And I look forward
Thank
to
you.
seeing you soon.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. Lots of you in Sonoma County, I know, are still dealing with the fires up there. So sending all of you much love and peace. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for your sweet comments. So we will be back next week with Cindy. She's going to talk about, she's an expert in healing gemstones and crystals and how they can help specifically calm the nervous system is what we're working with right now. So we're looking forward to that. She'll be here next Thursday afternoon. So thank you so much, Michael.
You bet.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.